Merry Christmas from me on my swing. It is Christmas Eve, and I am so excited. In fact, my children are so excited that they asked for cookies for breakfast this morning since it was Christmas Eve, and I said okay. And growing up, I just thought Christmas Eve was really kind of the crux of all of it for me. I think Christmas Day was very fun and obviously had its perks, but Christmas Eve was when we had our big family celebration. On my mom's side of the family, we do dinner and church and Christmas present exchanges, and my cousins were there, and it was great. And then when my parents were young and, beastly enough to do this, I could not do this, we would drive through the night from St. Louis to Ohio to wake up Christmas morning at my dad's family's in Ohio. But and it felt like we did that forever. It felt like that was always the tradition. And I've not looked back actually to think about how or count the many times that we actually did it, but it felt like that was what we always did. And it's funny that when you grow up, I feel like traditions feel like they're just, everything's the same forever until suddenly they're not, and then everything continues to change all the time. And one of the things that felt like it was always the same at my grandma's house on Christmas Eve was where we sat to open presents. She would always it was a very formal dinner with her china and crystal glasses that we always tried to, make the noise with our fingers. And I don't think we got in trouble for it, which is good and interesting considering how formal the dinner usually was. But she would give us assigned seats, and it would change every year who sat where. But when it came to present time, we almost always sat in the same place. And I can remember when I was little, maybe moving a little bit, but the last several years that we did Christmas at my grandmother's house, I was on the couch, and it was my mom, my dad, me, and then my oldest cousin Nathan. And it was always this thing, because I can remember it was a big deal if somebody tried to sit somewhere else, or that just was where you sat. And it was part of the Christmas tradition. And I can remember laughing and having so much fun. And one year, we really kind of grew out of the couch too. It started when I was younger, and then as I grew up, we just kind of all ran out of space on the couch but wouldn't move. And so one year when I was in college, I had these wool pants on, and I remember when we stood up, my cousin and I both were just drenched with sweat from our legs, which is really gross, and I'm not sure why I just told you that, but nonetheless, that was our commitment to our spot. And then, like I was saying, things eventually start to change, and I can remember when my cousin got married, that started like rotations of when he wasn't there, and then when other people got married, there's this rotation of who was at which holidays. But I remember the first Christmas that they did Christmas with us, I did not give up my seat for his wife, but instead we made her sit at our feet so that we still had our seats on the couch, and she was there, which was so kind of her. But I just, as I sit here and think about Christmas Eve, this Christmas Eve is different than our Christmas Eve last year, and I'm not sure what it will look like next year. And so, there are some things that are traditions that always stay the same, and I recognize that sometimes those things change, and it's really hard. Sometimes it's not easy when traditions change, or things change when we're not ready for them, and sometimes that could be a Christmas this year without somebody for the first time. And I recognize that this season brings a lot of pain, but I think the thing that is the most important to remember at Christmas is that Christmas doesn't change. We still celebrate Jesus. That's the reason we celebrate, and the hope that he gives us hope that heals when we're struggling with the changes, and we're struggling with not being ready to accept them, or just struggling because sometimes we don't like it when things change. But Jesus doesn't change, and the fact that God sent him and that's what we celebrate is what we're doing. And so I just wanted to say from the swing one more time, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you next week.